Hello and welcome to another Franchise Hockey Manager stream. My name is Adam. I'm the community manager of Franchise Hockey. With me, as always, and digitally pictured on your screen, kind of, is FHM producer Jeff. Say hi, Jeff.
Hey, everybody.
And we are back with Rewriting History, Montreal Canadiens 1926-27 season. Can't Stop a Juggernaut, Part 16. Jeff, we're back champions?
Yep.
Is that right?
Back to back to back to back. We're trying for our fifth in a row now.
Yeah.
So, NHL champions and Stanley Cup champions. It's no longer well, as of this season, it's no longer a separate series for the Cup. It's entirely within the NHL. The Western League has not quite gone out of business, but they're no longer a major league. There's still a minor league by that name that'll hang on for several more decades. But they won't be competing for the Cup anymore. It'll just the NHL champion will be the Stanley Cup champion. And along with that, we've also got a whole bunch of new teams in the NHL. You can see the previous season was the last season that Canadian teams would be a majority in the NHL. We are now, as of this year, have
America.
Yep, 4 Canadian teams, 6 American teams. So we've actually got one team, ironically the New York Americans, playing in the Canadian division. And this is also the first year that that the NHL has gone with a 2-division setup. So that will actually work to the advantage of some of the new teams, since the playoffs are separated until the final round. I think it's until the final round. But regardless of the new teams won't be stuck getting slaughtered against the established teams all in one division. It's spread out a little bit. Let me just go through a quick look at each team's roster here to set up the upcoming season, because things have moved around quite a bit. The whole, an entire league goes under. This is sort of similar to the situation that happened in 1979, where the WHA merged with the NHL, and all but 4 teams went out of business in WHA. So you had a huge influx of free agents and guys going back to their NHL teams. So pretty much the same thing has happened here. The Bruins, going into their 3rd season, didn't really manage to pick up anything of significance. They got Jimmy Herberts, who they picked up from Ottawa in a trade at the beginning of last year. Alex Conlon-Gould, who we traded to them, and Red Dutton, who they got out of the Western League, I think, when Seattle went out of business a couple of years back. But still, the D is a mess, so I don't know how well they're going to do. But although they're maybe got a slight leg up on some of the new teams. Chicago is basically the Portland Rosebuds of the WHL. They bought the contracts out from them, so they've got pretty much a ready-made team here. Which problem is the team wasn't that good that they took over. They're a little bit aging. They were, if I remember right, they weren't really championship contenders in the WHL. Talking in the game, not in real life. They were actually a fair bit better in real life. So it's Bill Carson, John Ross Roach, Bruins goalie in real life, and Bruins and Wings, I think.
Those are some really interesting jersey colors. That just the full black.
Yeah, the black and white jerseys are a look. Fortunately, the Hawks jerseys improved a little bit with time. So again, they're probably roughly on a par with the Bruins in terms of what they've got, even though it is technically an established team. Same story with Detroit. They brought the Detroit Cougars are really the Victoria Cougars of the WHL, who were the dominant team in the WHL. I think they won the championship 5 or 6 years in a row, although we've been beating them annually in the final. So this is essentially Detroit, the Victoria team that we kept facing in the Cup finals, moved over to Detroit, where they'll spend a season as the Cougars. Apparently Cougars was some sort of a regional term at the time, and the Detroit fans didn't really understand what the name of the team was. So they wound up having to change it, and then eventually wound up being the Red Wings. But for this season, they're the Cougars, and they've got a pretty good bunch up front. Decent defensive depth, really questionable goaltending. Now, I'm not sure what happened to their WHL goalie, if that wasn't Vezina. Somebody must. Oh, I think it was Hap Holmes. So he may have retired.
Oh yeah, I think that's.
And so Detroit is probably going to be the best team in the American division. There's us. You know, what can you say? 4-time defending champions, and led by Howie Moran's, who we did a well, not quite a 1-for-1. We had to throw in a little bit. Nell Stewart, our best player at the time, we traded to Toronto, where we would wound up with Moran's, just so we could get the, you know, Moran's was the top player of the Canadiens in real life, so it made a little more sense to have him on our team. So we picked him up. He's been pretty much true to form, easily our best player, but a good supporting cast. We've got two goalies, two excellent goalies, really. We've got Laurent Chabot sitting on the bench for quite a while. He's 26 now, and we really need to be trading him at some point, just to get some return out of him. And there's a lot of teams that need a backup. The problem is they just don't necessarily have what we'd want to be fit with us and get a proper return for Chabot. There's Montreal. The other team in Montreal, the Maroons. They're relatively new. They're in their third year. Coming along reasonably well. Goaltending is questionable, and I don't really want to trade that. We've tried getting Joe Primo out of them before for Chabot, and it didn't work last year. Could try it again, but don't really want to strengthen another team in our division. I'd rather send Chabot to one of the American teams.
You don't want to just send them across town?
Nah, not so much.
Actually, I don't even know how far apart they were. Was it really across town? Like,
Nope, same building. They're playing another Forum.
Okay. Oh, right, that's right. The Maroons was the Forum place. It was built for them, right?
Don't think so. The Montreal Arena situation was really complicated in the early years.
Yeah, no, I think the Forum was built for the Maroons, and then the Canadiens just kind of took it over.
And then we got the New York Americans, who were the Hamilton Tigers up until last year. They moved from Hamilton. They were the Quebec Bulldogs prior to that. Didn't have a whole lot of success in either Quebec or Hamilton, at least in the game, but have really been building for a few years, and they've got an excellent team now. They're going to be giving us a hard time, maybe other than their goaltending, where they've got an aging Clint Benedict in goal who's declined quite a bit.
All right, Jeff. Parks Canada says, originally constructed in 1924, the Montreal Maroons, the rink was built for the Montreal Maroons hockey team.
Okay, fair enough.
It became the home of the Montreal Canadiens from 1926 to 1996.
Yeah, so this is our first season in the new building then. But yeah, the Americans are going to be definitely a contender this year. But there's another new team in New York, and essentially what happened there, this guy in this picture is Tex Rickard, who, the owner of Madison Square Garden, who had made arrangements for the Americans to play there in their first season, saw how well the Americans were doing. They drew really well. He was pretty impressed by that and decided, hey, I should have my own team in there. So I went to the NHL and applied for an expansion team. And, got one. Not the Americans obviously weren't thrilled about that, suddenly having a competitor in the building with them. He hired Conn Smythe to set up his team, and Smythe did an outstanding job of that. Picked up a lot of free agents from the Western League, of various amateur players that he knew of, and players like Bill Cook, Frank Boucher, and set up a really good team. And then Rickard fired him before the season started.
So Rangers owners have always been interesting.
That's one word for it. So what's happened here isn't quite that. They haven't really picked up the quality of players that Smythe did, although the part of that is because a lot of the guys, the Boucher, Cook, were assigned to teams in the game where in real life Boucher had been in Vancouver, so he was a free agent and available to sign. I think the Cook brothers had been in Calgary, same thing with them. But they wound up under contract to other teams. So the Rangers, who won the division in real life in 1926-27, probably are going to be struggling to stay out of last place this year because they haven't got a very impressive lineup. It's I think Red Green, who is not the comedian from Vancouver, Bill Holmes, who had a pretty good year in Saskatoon, and his former teammate Stan Brown. Not huge names though. The goaltending is very questionable. Calgary's goalie Patty Byrne in goal. So we'll see what happens with them. Ottawa, and I remember last time I was kind of writing them off, and they wound up having a very good season. They had been one of the best teams in the league. They got a little bit old, although they're starting to replace some of the older players now. If you look at that, and you still see a lot of guys in their, mid 30s or so, which is ancient by the standards of, the mid 1920s. Guys just didn't last as long. But they've also picked up some younger players. Buncook, Bill's brother, Johnny Gutselig. Let's see who else. They did take one veteran out of the WHL. Dick Irvin Sr. is there from Vancouver, coming off a season where he missed most of it due to injuries. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, you said guys didn't last too late into their 30s because of whatever. But it's not like they were making tons of money playing this. They needed to get jobs to actually kind of support themselves.
Injury treatment wasn't what it was. So if a guy in his 30s and he had the opportunity to do something else, he often did. Next team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, in their second season in the league. No goaltending at all. Questionable defense, although they've got future Hall of Famer Dick Clapper and Albert Battleship Leduc, a couple of good young defensemen. So that may improve. Won't be enough to help the Pirates. They'll eventually go out of business. Well, they'll go to Philadelphia for a season as the Quakers in a few years and eventually go out of business. Tex White, who was actually a Pirate in real life, Pittsburgh Pirate, not a guy with a ship. He's they've signed him as a free agent from Calgary, so it's the WHL after they went under. So interesting that lined up that way. They'll be a little better this year, but probably the goaltending is going to hold them back a little. Normie Smith, eventually a good Red Wings goalie, I think it was. Checking his real stats, Red Wings goalie for the early 30s, but he's only 19 at this point, so he's not quite there yet. So they're going to struggle. The Toronto St. Patrick's, still the St. Patrick's, not quite the Leafs yet. Another good team in our division, George Hainsworth, best goalie in the league. Would have been a Canadian in real life, although we can't really complain. We've got Roy Waters in goal, who's almost as good, and Nell Stewart, who we traded for Moran's. Hooley Smith, another, I'm not sure how they picked him up. Was that via the draft? Yeah, looks like they got him via the draft. Another good player, Montreal Maroon in real life. Solid group of defensemen. A couple of future Hall of Famers in there. And okay, back to the Bruins. So I might as well get this started now and get this moving along. Try to get through the whole season there. We're at the home opener. We're at the start of the preseason, sorry. So I've set everything up, the training and whatnot, and scouting, so nothing to worry about there. Whoops, no jersey number assigned. Who am I missing?
I keep looking at. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems like it likely is, even though it's on Wikipedia. About the Montreal Forum. It says the site was selected because it was the site of a roller skating rink. Named the Forum, which is why the name was kept. But before the roller skating rink, it was a site that was used as an outdoor hockey rink, used by Frank and Lester Patrick, Art Ross, and Russell Bowie.
Okay, and just going to the exhibition season here. First game against the New Rangers. And 4-1 win. Should also mention that we're getting into the really low scoring era now. Goal scoring is down to about half it was in the first seasons of the NHL in 1917. Actually, it's less than half. I think we're at about 2 goals. Average team is scoring 2 goals per game right now, so you'd see about 4 goals in an average game. And it will continue to decline for another couple of years until it gets really ridiculous in, I think it's 28, 29. And eventually the league starts making some changes to accommodate higher scoring. Another win for us there over the St. Patrick's.
Now, this is a stupid question, but I can't think of were they allowed forward passes at this point?
Yes. There was, I'm trying to remember now. I just went through this like a few months ago trying to get, because we implemented some of the game. It was restricted by zone for a while. I'm not, can't remember which period exactly we're in right now. You could only forward pass. I think it was in the offensive zone for a while. And the Hawks nearly beat us. We get a 3-2 overtime win. So the former Portland Rosebuds giving us a run for our money there. And it looks like we got... Oh, the other thing, this is up to a 44-game season now, which is why I'm trying to rush through this a little bit. 2-1 win, so we stay undefeated in the regular season or preseason. And our training camp development report. Pretty good numbers. Russ Blinko, we drafted this year, coming along nicely. Some of the other young guys, very good. Who's going downhill? Buck Boucher, our captain. Sprague Leghorn, who down to 1.5 stars. He's been with us forever. His brother was for quite a while too, but he left to play out west last year, and I think he's back in Chicago possibly. And a few other, no, just spare parts. So nothing too critical declining in the at the start of the season. So I got another game against Pittsburgh here. Oh, 5-1 loss to the Pirates. Bit of a surprise. And we're running into some injuries. Foot Shepherd, so I'll have to put try putting Gagnon into that spot, since I really want to get him moving along this season. He's one of our better young guys. And finally, I think this is the last exhibition game. We'll give Chabot the start. And 3-2 overtime loss to the Hawks. So, okay, we got to have to cut down the roster shortly. Nobody. Okay, McCaffrey and Riom, I don't really care if they're on waivers. Somebody may grab Riom. Riom, if he's a better goalie than a couple of teams have at the moment. Ah, that's interesting. Toronto wants to give us 21-year-old Hap Ems, future coach, for the aging Harry Watson. It's only saying 2-star potential or 1.5-star potential for Ems, but I think that's maybe counting it a little low. The only problem is that we're playing with a house rule here that we can only take players born in Quebec where they're born in Quebec, are French Canadian, or played for the Canadiens in real life. And as much as I'd like to make this trade, Ems doesn't qualify for any of those, although he played for the Maroons a little bit.
I was going to say, we also kind of included Maritimes.
Well, we did that when we were short on players for a couple of seasons. I'm not really, if we have to, we'll do it again. But and we're not allowing. We're only taking Canadiens players, right? Not Maroons. I think we've won 4 cups in a row. We don't need to give ourselves any more advantages. So I'm going to reject that, as much as I would like to complete it. Okay, and we got to send a couple of players to the minors, although Watson is injured, and send Hart down. And again, may lose somebody to waivers here.
Yes, the greatest minor league logo is in this year now.
Which one is that?
The Boston Tigers.
Is that a Bruins farm team or?
Yes, Bruins farm team.
Oh yeah, fantastic. That's amazing. Okay, gotta cut one more guy here, or actually I can start Watson on the injured list and make room that way.
Jeff, speaking of which, so we had a couple of jersey announcements today.
I was out for most of the day. Actually, what happened? It's a 3-0 win over Boston to start the season.
Okay, so I mean, Fanatics unveiled their jerseys, which they are.
We just lost Hart to the St. Patrick's on waivers.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But the Kings are going back to the '90s logo.
Oh yeah, that I think
Gretzky
leaked last week.
It did, yes.
Yeah.
And again, but just confirmed. And the jerseys look very much in the 90s, but less striping, I think. But the big one is, and again, this logo leaked, but the jerseys hadn't, was Anaheim is going with the Angry Duck.
I think that leaked already
Well,
too, because I saw a picture of that.
that's what I said.
Oh,
The, the, the duck face leaked with the orange eyes, yes. But they're all orange jerseys for home, including orange gloves, orange helmet, orange pants,
ew.
and
Well,
no, it actually looks pretty good.
it does.
Yeah,
Yeah. Believe me when I
and
see it.
they have orange and white for their away. No,
And
they're
we lost
surprisingly
5-2 to the Maroons. Not a good result against the other Montreal team. And I guess we should talk about that other thing that happened this week.
Arizona officially not existing anymore.
Yeah, that was the big news, wasn't it?
Well, it is, yes,
Yeah.
because somebody asked about whether the Jets would get their history back, and it was, well, we'll talk about it. So that's
But yeah, the congratulations to the Panthers, Stanley Cup champions. And now the Canucks are stuck in a division with a generational player who came within one game of winning a Stanley Cup. So I'm sure that'll be a fun thing to deal with for the next few years in the playoffs. He got close. He's not going to give up now. So I mean, it was nice to see McDavid get the MVP. He deserved it.
well, he deserved it. Yeah. No, it was a good series. I again not really a big fan of Kachuk, but I'm happy to see Paul Maurice win a Stanley Cup and Kulikov and Kevin Stenlund.
And Roberto Luongo. Okay, well, Gagnon is coming on, but I still can't find a spot for him in the lineup here. Go with that for now. I think we're going to lose Harry Watson on waivers, yet playing by the Rangers.
All right, sorry, John. I'm going to send you this. This is one of the pictures that Anaheim goes for reveal. So I'm just going to post it here for you to take a look at quick.
And 5-3 run for that for us. We're off to a pretty good start, other than that one embarrassing loss to the Maroons. And
Actually, sorry, I should do this one since it's full.
Finnegan's injured, so Johnny Gagnon will get his chance now.
There's the Anaheim orange getup.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. That actually looks kind of good.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, no, I thought it was,
And the white,
it's a
the white
slightly faded orange. That looks better.
yeah, the white accents really well too.
And 2-1 overtime loss to the Americans, who are going to be a good team this year. And looks like we got outshot pretty handily there, 55-43. That's not great. Shouldn't be losing a game like that, or shouldn't be giving up that many shots.
Is our defense suffering that hard, or what?
Claiborne's getting older. Not there, he bounced back with a 5-0 win over Ottawa.
That's good.
Quick look at the standings. We are on top of the Canadian, well, tied with Toronto on top of the Canadian division with a game in hand. New York, as expected, is there. Ottawa, surprisingly, in the last place, although they've only played 6 games. And the two teams that bought out WHL teams, Detroit and Chicago, are on top of the American.
I mean, yeah, you take a good team and you move them. They're still going to be a pretty good team.
Yeah. Or, an average team in the Chicago-Portland case. Okay, there we got even against the Maroons with a 4-0 shutout, but uh-oh. It cost us Howie Moran's knee contusion for 1 to 2 weeks, so.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, we can live with that. Okay,
Actually, let me think. Since last time we streamed, I don't think the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade had happened.
I think it happened that night, didn't it?
I
thought I remembered talking to you about it.
Maybe it did.
Because I remember laughing about the. Well, yeah, you were saying what that trade eventually actually amounted to. for the Kings.
Okay.
Yeah. So that somebody, Pete Belfoy, eye irritations. He goes out for line 1.
Oh, yeah, 8 days ago. Okay, there we go.
So we're playing Pittsburgh without Moranz. Fortunately, we've got a pretty good number 2 center in Duke Keats, who's getting a little older, but still can play. Wow, we put up 59 shots on them, but their goalie holds them in, and we only come away with a 2-1 overtime win.
Yeah, now again, any thoughts on who's going to go number 2 in the draft? I mean, we know who's going number 1.
That's... yeah, not sure. I mean, Celebrini, I'm more interested in how they build around Celebrini in San Jose. I mean,
well, Barclay Goodrow, apparently.
Well, yeah, he doesn't seem too thrilled to be there.
Well, would you? I mean, they picked up what's his name from Dallas too.
Finally off ice incident.
Ty Dellandrea.
Our starting goalie has been an off ice incident, and he's annoyed a bunch of the veterans.
Nice.
In fact, he's annoyed most of his defensemen.
I'm really interested to see now that the Jets are going to have to trade Rutger McGroarty.
Yeah,
they're going back in the first.
Okay, we got a little problem here. Roy Waters was in an off ice incident, and the media has picked up on it, so I'm going to have to defend him, which is going to mess up my relationship with the media. And now we got this team harmony mess to work down. So that's going to take a while to go away, so not a good start to the our potential 5th consecutive cup. And wow, 2-1 loss to the Bruins in overtime. That's a team we should be beating. And now the media is going after Bert Corbeau. Well, I disagreed with him there, so I'm going to agree with him there just to try to keep it balanced. And how is our media coverage, basic media attitude is negative now, which is actually fairly good for considering the Montreal media. It's hard to get it above that. But yeah, McGroarty, what's gone wrong there? He just doesn't want to play in Winnipeg?
No. They said again, McGroarty. Well, it's not that he wants. Again, part of it I think is money. Let's be honest for these guys. It's money, but apparently he wanted to sign in the spring or was interested in signing in the spring, but the Jets said, "We'll sign you, but we're not guaranteeing you games because we're pushing for the number 1 seed." And then even at that, it was still kind of okay, back and forth. And then he wants a guaranteed roster spot on the NHL team, and the Jets said no.
Well, yeah, that's
and
ambitious.
They're like, "We'll gladly sign you, gladly have you in camp, and give you a chance, but we're not. There's a realistic possibility you're going to be on the Moose."
Yeah, throwing the backup in for a back-to-back game against Detroit, and Chabot comes up with a shutout, 3-0 over the Cougars.
But apparently that's what's kind of soured McGroarty.
And now Howie Moran's picked up a viral infection as he was recovering from his injury. So, what did he have? Knee contusion, and he somehow got the flu after that. So he's going to be out slightly longer. So we'll have to deal without him for a little while more. And squeezes out at 2-1. Wow, Mickey Murray in the Pittsburgh net. 66 shots on goal and 64 saves. So he almost had them in it. Development report, mostly young guys. Yeah, not a lot of guys in the lineup right now. Billy Boucher continuing to decline. Keats going down. And yeah, McCaffrey's done. Well, Moran's still day-to-day. He's going to miss this game against Ottawa, but I think we get him back after that. I should mention here what I'm doing. I'm just using the pre-game AI lines to reset the lines because I've got Moran's the top center out, and I don't want to use the preset lines for that while he's not in the lineup. And 3-0 win over Ottawa. Again, putting up a ton of shots on everybody, but there we go. Is Morin's healthy now? He is. So I had Gagnon in that spot.
Okay. So he's tumbled down the rankings.
Let's see. Gagnon is really pushing for a roster spot. Tempted to... Frank Finnegan hasn't really done anything this year. Let's sit him for a few games. And leave Gagnon in the lineup.
So I just went back and peeked at in our Pittsburgh game who went number 2. Celebrini went number 1. Number 2, though, prospect to Montreal is not going to go number. There is a 99% chance he will not go number 2.
Who was it?
NHL Scout Prospects ranking has him in the 70s. Luka Miza.
Surprised. I don't think I haven't got him that high in the game.
Well, this is initial back, before.
Even the start of the season, I don't think I had him that high. And Toronto beats us 5-3. So not a good return for Morin's.
And then it gets kind of reasonable.
Or, no, we got the New Rangers. And 4-0 win against them. So what the standings looking like at this point? Not quite halfway through the season, but we're on top, and yeah, still Detroit and Chicago holding on to the top on the American side. And 3-1 loss to Ottawa. So it's getting a little more competitive than it was for the last couple of years. We tended to dominate them for a little while now, but not so this year, apparently.
Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, Peawak's here now. There's a
since
Detroit
you're here,
team in the game.
how are you feeling about Stamkos going to sign with Detroit?
Yeah, 4-2 win over Toronto for us.
Okay, not that that's official, I should say that, but seems like there's a solid
inside
chance.
Information. And Gagnon is hurt, so Finnegan's going to have to come in.
Haven't heard. Well, he was interested in signing with Detroit the last time he was a free agent. He hasn't signed with...
And another loss to the Maroons.
Can't be.
60-shot shutout for Charles Stewart. Shots seem a little high. I'm going to have to check on that for this season. And the game settings.
Okay, P-Wog on that. How are you feeling about that last Detroit trade? Or the last 2 Detroit trades?
Speaking of Detroit, we got the Detroit Cougars tonight.
I actually really like that D. It's a nice fancy D.
And yeah, 4-1 win over them. Although they remain on top in the American division. Everybody healthy. Again, Jan's still got a sore back.
That's what it's all about for you, just for the cap room.
Quick look at the player stats. Again, remember this fairly low scoring year. Amazingly, 36-year-old Sprague Clegg, maybe down to 1.5 stars, but he's their number 2 scorer somehow.
Perfect.
So, still producing. He can stay. Just curious if his brother Odie is... oh no, I think he's contracted to Chicago. Yeah, contracted to Chicago, but playing in the Can-Am League, forerunner of the AHL for them, after playing in the Western League last year. So he didn't quite make it back to the NHL. Unless Chicago gets injuries, he may not see another NHL game.
Which, I mean, is reasonable.
And 2-1 loss to the Americans. Yeah, they're a good team. This is going to be tough to repeat the Cup this year, I think. And we got the trade deadline coming up. Well, we'll see if we get any offers for Chabot. At least Gagnon is healthy again. And is he going? Yeah, he's still outperforming Finnegan. And narrow 3-2 win over the Rangers. Shouldn't have really been that close, but we get 2 points out of it. And Chabot, the backup, is injured for 1 to 2 weeks, so he's going to have to go on the injured list. And we'll bring up the third stringer, Realm, to sit on the bench for these couple of games.
P-Wog, who do you think they're going to go at for a goalie then? Thatcher Demko?
Don't think we're rating him yet. What do you think of the Olmark trade?
I think Boston maybe could have got a little more, but I don't know.
I know it's
Seems
a lot
like
to
they're
give
paying a
up
lot
for
for
a guy
backup.
who's never played more than 49 games in the season.
Well, that's fair, but they also Boston took on a lot of money there for a backup goalie. A lot of money, a lot of term. Because I don't know what else they're going to do with Korpisalo.
Yeah. He could bounce back still. And 3-3 tie
I know.
against Toronto. No shootouts in this.
But
so
they're not going to give up Linus Allmark.
yeah.
Or not Linus Allmark. Oh, jeez. Swayman.
Yeah.
Linus Allmark. That's who we're talking about. Adam, stop it.
Okay, so as far as I don't think we're going to be able to do much for a trade here. And take a look at what's on the trading block around the league. Surprisingly, Ottawa trying to get rid of Tiny Thompson, Half Day, and a bit of a fire sale in Ottawa apparently. Half Day I don't think was all with the Leafs. So never a Canadian, doesn't really have any connection to Montreal, so we can't go after him. Jerry Duran from Pittsburgh, who's American.
Not that I want to see him go, but Laurent Brossoit, I'd much rather be in Detroit than I would be in Toronto. I'm mentally preparing myself for Eric Comrie being the backup in Winnipeg next year.
Until
I'm like
trade him
95% sure it's going to happen.
Him and then lose him and then pick him back up on waivers again. For like what is
seventh, eighth? No one's talking about it, which is why I'm like, this is how I was like 95% sure the Jets were going to sign Laurent Brossoit back for to be a goalie here in case they did trade Hellebuck, or if not, to be the backup, and that's what happened. And I have this kind of vibe with Eric Comrie coming back. Dr. Butsy in the chat says, what does Ottawa need now? And then says, not 2017 all over again. Ottawa needs to clear some cap room. Stay healthy. Yeah, they need Allmark to stay healthy, and they need to clear some cap room. It wouldn't surprise me. Winnipeg and Ottawa have been talking. I'll be curious if something does happen.
I'm looking to make a trade in our game here, but just you can see as I'm going through the teams that have goaltending problems just don't have anybody really that we'd want. Well, Primo's gone long-term for injury, so not even that's off the table now.
I mean, if our goalie's causing an issue, should we be trading him and go for the run with a backup?
What? No, the
well,
goalie's been fine.
Well, no, I mean he got in a fight, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, no, it was one off-ice incident. Hasn't really been a pattern with him.
All right. Well, I mean, we're not really going downgrading to keep.
What
Waters is number one.
Too, so I'm going to keep going. So didn't
get
any
nice
offers.
1-2 punch.
Yeah, didn't get any offers. And if we get an injury in the playoffs, too, we get nice to know we've got a good backup to switch to.
Who gets injured in the playoffs?
Yeah, goalie getting injured in the playoffs, that never happens. And 5-2 win over the Rangers as Morantz gets a hat trick. So the team is apparently happy that I didn't make any moves. And media is going to praise Buck Boucher, so sure, why not? We'll agree with that. And start of the new month, I'm trying to work down this little problem with orders. So there's only a couple of guys angry with him. He's not happy with a whole bunch of guys, but that situation is gradually recovering.
So does he need a Snickers?
Yeah, the owner is satisfied with us, expecting to win right now, naturally, because trying to defend the cup again.
All right. Question from P-Wog for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
He says, your take, Jake Wallman and a second-round pick acquired from Nashville to the Sharks for nothing more than future considerations.
I'm not even sure how they're allowed to do future consideration trades. I thought they had gotten rid of that. And, I mean, we'll see. It depends what the future considerations turn out to be. But it's a kind of shady thing that the league shouldn't be allowing. Should be a little more
Well,
on the
I
table
mean,
as to what.
there is some random prospect that you could probably trade a rights to, or a seventh-round pick that's not really that
Well, name them
important.
now then.
Well, I know, but that's what it's
3-1
going
win
to
over
end up.
the 3-0 win over the Maroons, and Chabot is healthy again, so we can bring him back up.
Maybe it'll be $1. But I mean, who would ever trade a player for $1? Glance, 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 glance. Hey, and that was a Detroit reference too.
Yep.
So we've gone full circle. P-Wog, you better understand that.
And 3-1 win for the Hawks. And another back-to-back, so we'll see how healthy Chabot is, because I'll give him a second start against the other Western team that's moved east. Ouch. 7-2 loss to the Victoria/Detroit Cougars. What went wrong there? Oh, 4-1 in the first period. Will Cook with 4 goals against us. Oh, that's embarrassing. And does not look good for Chabot, who had a shutout in his other game. Oh, great. Now we got a major injury to Duke Heats. Fractured hand, 1 to 2 months. We got 15 games left in the season. Season ends the end of next month, and we're halfway. Yeah, season ends in about 6 weeks, so I'm going to gamble and let him go for treatment, I think. So we do have a good third-line center. And hopefully he comes back fast enough. Could wind up hurting us, but we'll see. Not in this game. 4-1 win over Pittsburgh. In the standing situation, wow, yeah, we slipped back a bit from the Americans. 6 points behind, so we got to play a little catch up here. And Detroit, fairly firm lead atop the American by 10 points. And Bill Cook leading the league in scoring. So we need to win some hockey games here. Good start. 3-2 win over Toronto. And hopefully we can do the same against Ottawa here. No, 4-3 overtime loss. And you don't get a... or no, that was an overtime win. That was an overtime win, not a loss. You don't get a point for losing in overtime in this era. It's just treated as a regular win. So off to an okay start here. Everybody reasonably fit. Yep. And 3-2 win over the Americans. We're not dominating anybody here, but we're slowly moving up within 4 points now. We've lost 2 before this season, but should be able to beat. Yeah, easily beat. 9-1 win. There's a nice box score to look at. 4 points from Lorenz. Almost everybody has a point, and everybody has nice blues in the game scores, 80s and 90s. Wow, Cleghorn, 8 shots on goal. Somehow the old guy's still going. And that's not good, though. Billy Boucher is hurt. Hip strain 1 to 2 weeks, so Langlois is going to get in for a couple of games here. Development report, Blanco continuing to come along well, that's good. And on that, so Chabot is going down. Okay, we need to move him soon then. Leghorn, yeah, the usual guys. A lot of veterans heading downhill. We're gonna have to overhaul this roster pretty soon. Three one win over
I mean,
Detroit,
that was always kind of a given.
And oh great, now we've got a click forming with Warder, Shepard, Joliat, and Buck Boucher. Oh, so it's got the captain in it. That's going to be annoying.
Time to start trading everybody.
So hopefully that goes away on its own, but we'll see. And another close win, 3-2 over Chicago. And Lauren Chabot is hurt again. Sore groin this time. It's only day-to-day, but he can't play against Pittsburgh, so Ryan's going to have to come up. Did I have... Okay, I've only got 17 on the roster, so I can do that without having to send him down or put him on the injured list. Oh, I didn't sign the jersey for Ryan. And yet another close game, 3-2 overtime win. Frank Finnegan, who hasn't done much this year, is the first star. And we still, yep, still not healthy for Chabot, so he'll be out against the Maroons. We still come away with a 5-2 win. Moran's with another hat trick. And he's slowly climbing up the scoring leaders, though I don't think he's going to catch Cook, and Boucher is up there as well. 6 games left to go in the season, and we've passed the Americans.
Great.
And now we play them to see if we can solidify that lead a little bit. Yeah, easy 5-1 win. And Charlie Langlois, with a veteran who picked up from the Western League, gets a couple of points. Chabot is almost ready to come back. Yeah, he can play now, so Rion can go back down. How is Keats coming along? Oh, that's not good. It's still showing 1 to 2 months. Maybe I should have kept them in the lineup. Oh, and Sprout Leghorn, shoulder for a couple of days. So Buswell will get his first game of the season here against Ottawa. And we get shut out 3-0 by the Senators, who even had their backup in goal. Okay, Clegg Horvan is healthy, fortunately. So you can go back in. Gave the old guy a little bit of a rest there, and Billy Boucher as well. So Langlois comes out. And see how the team does against the Maroons. And another close 4-3 win. So with 3 games left in the season for us and 2 for the Americans, we're up on them by 2 points. Good, but not totally secure. Could use a win against Boston here. And we do easily, 7-1 win. So is that, yeah, we're 4 points up with 2 games to go, so almost clinched. And we can clinch with a win against Toronto. And, oh yeah, I was right about the Rangers not having a great season. Without Conn Smythe to build the team, only 18 points. And by far the worst in the league.
18 points is not a lot. Does your company have a Facebook group? Pewog asks.
I got Facebooks for both of the games.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by Facebook group.
And went over.
But you know we have a Facebook page because you message me on it all the time.
Okay, we beat Toronto, so we have clinched first in the division, and overall as well.
Oh. Most of that just gets done on the forums, I think.
And closing out against the Americans, throw the backup in for that. So Chabot gets his third start of the year and manages a 3-2 win. Okay, so season is up. Well, I'll play one more day here, and then we'll actually get to the end of the season. Detroit winds up in first place, the former Victoria Cougars. So we can wind up facing them in the final yet again, just in a new set of uniforms. And Pittsburgh, surprisingly, finishing second in the American division. Okay, yeah, big season for the young guys. Clapper, Mike Neville. I don't really remember that name. Who's okay? Yeah, Little didn't play a bit for Toronto, and then the Americans didn't really do a lot in the NHL, but apparently he's broken out with Pittsburgh. And Tex White, the free agent we mentioned, looks like he's injured for a few months. So Pittsburgh has kind of battled there, and Jack Walker, veteran, was that a mid-season trade? Oh yeah, Duran, who they were trying to move, wound up in New York, and yeah, pretty good career for Walker. Pacific Coast League, and comes back to Quebec, and yeah, one of the better players in Hamilton, and now he's in Pittsburgh. I don't know. We'll see how the Pittsburgh does in the playoffs, but surprising performance for them. And what is the situation with Keats? 2 to 3 weeks left on the injury. Starting to look like I made a mistake there.
I mean, maybe, but at the same time, if he's hurt for the end, he only plays every other game, is it really helping you?
Yeah. Okay, playoffs. We get a first round bye, and the way this works, I think it's the number 2 and 3 team in each division. Yeah, Toronto. So 2 and 3 play for a 2-game total goal series, and then they meet the division champions. So Chicago and Pittsburgh, and Toronto and New York to advance against us in Detroit. And it looks like New York has beat Toronto 4-1 in their series, and Pittsburgh, despite the injury to White, comes up with a 3-2 win over Chicago. So it'll be Pittsburgh and Detroit, and the Americans and us. And this is again a 2-game total goal series, so easy for this to go wrong on us. You don't get much of a chance to recover from a bad game here. But we will go with this lineup. It's been what we've had all season, and well, first game is totally irrelevant. A 0-0 tie. How often do you see a 0-0 tie in the playoffs, Adam?
Not for a long time, Jeff. Also, there's something funny about it being goal scoring and being a 0-0.
Yeah, so it's all going to come down to this game, and it's on the road for us against the Americans. Our 5-year cup run, our four consecutive cup run, comes down to this game. Can we keep it going? We desperately need a win here. And we do not get it. 3-2 overtime loss. How many overtimes did that take? Second overtime.
That's devastating.
That is the end of our dynasty, I guess. So the Americans moving on to play. And wow, Pittsburgh's upset Detroit in the other half of the final. So Pittsburgh with an actual shot at the Stanley Cup here. How many decades before it happened in real life? I mean, it looks like we lost Lepan in that game for 2 or 3 weeks. And Keats is finally day-to-day. Not that it does us any good now.
All right, there it is, Jeff. That trade is now official.
And the best of 3 finals, or no, best of 5 finals, easily won by the New York Americans. 5-1 against Pittsburgh in the first game, 3-2 in the second, and 6-0 in the third. So yeah, it's a pretty good lineup. Frank Boucher, Kim Clancy, and Clint Benedict in goal, although Benedict is getting a little bit old. Oh, looks like Eddie Shore was would have been, he was their best defenseman, was out for that game, sprained elbow. But yeah, wow, look at that scoring in the regular season. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I see 9 Hall of Famers on that team. So yeah, no disgrace that we lost to that, but even if it is disappointing. And no, Boucher didn't score that much in the playoffs. That was Carson Cooper led the team in scoring. But still, the Americans break our monopoly on the Stanley Cup in our first non-WHL season.
Disappointing.
So I do need to deal with some contract stuff here. Cleghorn, who's getting very old but still seems to produce and only wants to stay for another year. We'll let him do that. Boucher, the captain, who's declining but still solid.
Jeff, this is even worse than what it was.
What? Wow, how bad?
So full trade now, official. Blackhawks get Ilya Mikheyev, the 2027 second-round pick, and pending UFA Sam Lafferty. The Canucks...
Yeah, Lafferty wasn't getting re-signed, so that's nothing.
Yeah, Canucks get a 2027 fourth-round pick. But the Canucks are also retaining 15% of Mikheyev's salary.
We were that desperate to keep it to a dump salary, huh? Hope we do something with it.
But why did they retain any salary on that?
Got me. Seemed good
That's
enough
crazy.
without that, but...
Although I do find it funny they're trading a pick 3 years away.
Yeah, kick that one way down the road.
That's the next GM's problem.
A little pessimistic there, but... Okay, McCaffrey's too old. We're not going to bother re-signing him, and we've got everybody else signed. So let's just advance this to July 1st. I think I can get the draft done too, because that doesn't take long in the historical games, particularly at this point. I've got all of our guys re-signed, and now we're at the point where free agency isn't really much of a threat. Even if a guy doesn't re-sign with you, it's not like he's got another league to go to. So Frank Boucher win the MVP. Half day is the Conn Smythe winner, which is awarded for the first time this year. And the Vezina goes to our guy, Roy Waters. So that's something at least. Got to keep working on the harmony stuff as well. Although that's almost... Oops, Boucher made Waters angry at him now. And that's the end of the click, so that's sort of clearing up on its own. A few guys, staff members to re-sign. And fairly mediocre season score this time around, well, compared to what we've been getting by winning the cup, but it doesn't really matter because we basically got all of our ratings maxed out, and we need to make some changes here, so it's not quite so easy to do that, but leave that as it is. So we can't really go any higher, and owner confidence update, and yeah, not surprisingly, he's calling the season a disappointment. And we did have one scout retire.
I mean, how could you not say it's not a disappointment when you don't win the Stanley Cup?
Gonna hire a couple of new scouts this year. Should be good enough. Scouting doesn't really matter quite so much in a historical game, just particularly in this era.
Because there's Hall of Famers and not Hall of Famers?
Yeah. So a few players, you know pretty much who everyone is. And the draft order, and getting into the draft here. Do we have all of our... Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we got a normal set of picks. One big player here, Charlie Conacher, and then it tails off pretty badly. So we're not going to get anybody too amazing. Red Horner after that. So a couple of Leaf greats, and then Bill Beveridge, decent goalie. Art Golder, good Rangers defenseman. Doc Roms, Chicago. And then not so much after that. A few decent players, but we'll see who we get here. And for the first time in a few years, the league is completely stable, no team changes. So Charlie Conacher winds up with the Rangers, so they can build around him. Doc Roms, Bruins passing on Red Horner. Can I go after him? Horner goes to the Maroons. And Coulter to the Senators. Bill Beveridge to the Blackhawks. So that they weren't really having that much trouble with their goalie. But they were getting older. But I think there were other teams that probably should have gone for a goalie first. Just jump ahead to us, and well, basically let's find the French guy. Herman Murray doesn't sound like it. Gallagher, Wilson. Jerry Cosby, who had the hockey equipment store, I think, based right out of Madison Square Garden. Or it's actually in the Garden, can't remember, but for many years in New York. I'm not sure if it's still there.
I can't tell you.
I need to find a Quebec guy, or at least a French Canadian, or somebody with some connection to him. Okay, Bert Connolly is from Montreal. Anybody better than that who's a Canadian? Roche was, very briefly. Yeah, okay, that's... I'm going to have to go with Connolly. Don't really see any better options. Not that I think anybody from this draft is going to make the team. Did I say Kilrea was a Canadian? No, he was not. Roche was, so he's still around. Grab him. There's one, Percy Allen. Not really worrying too much about these picks because this end of the draft is pretty much non-entities.
Not great.
And Art Alexander, who's from Kitchener. Oh, but was a Canadian, so take him.
Oh,
So
yes, he
not really-
played. How many games was that? 12?
Yeah. And he's got a French name too.
Alexandre.
Don't think any of these guys are going to show up very high on the depth chart. I should probably try to sign some of the young guys we didn't sign last year, Luxon, Pelangio, just to fill out the roster.
There is no rival league for 40 years?
Yeah, 72, so 45 years. And yeah, the guys we got are pretty much all the bottom of the depth chart. We'll sign the top pick, Connolly, but other than that, we've got more contract room to play with now. It's not that 30 player limit that we had that was there for most of the early NHL period. But well, we continue to get older. We've lost the cup, so maybe headed into a little bit of difficulty here, although I think we've still got a good enough team to contend for quite a few years. But we definitely have to move Chabot at some point this year to get somebody else to shore up probably the defense. I don't see a lot of French-Canadian defensemen out there. Oh, and well, there's one change this year. It's no more St. Patrick's. Toronto is now calling themselves the Maple Leafs. Seems like a ridiculous name. Not even spelled properly. That's not how you spell Leafs. Leaves. Oh, and the Rangers, where did they get Jake Forbes from? Away from Toronto. Okay, so the Rangers will be a little better in their second season. But after having lost the dynasty, I think we're going to have to call it there, Adam. At least for tonight.
Sorry.
We'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. All right. So thank you very much for tuning into the Franchise Hockey Manager stream. We typically stream... Well, actually, on that note, I think we're actually going to have a slight time change.
Yeah.
For the first time in... well, actually, Jeff, we've been doing this for, what, 8 years now?
8 or 9.
I think we're on our 8th year.
Yeah.
We're going to do a slight time change. And so rather than streaming at our usual time of 10 p.m. Eastern, we're actually going to switch it up and go to 11 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays now. So next week, we'll be back at 11 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/franchise hockey manager, as well as twitch.tv/OOTP developments. All of our streams are archived, of course, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/OOTP developments as well, where you can find them going live on Saturdays at about 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also find a link, or you can also reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/franchise hockey manager. On Twitter, we're @franchise hockey. Find a link to our official Discord in our Twitter bio, as well as in the game by clicking the little Discord button on the main menu. And of course, you can come on down to the official website, which is ootpdevelopments.com. Click on the community button in the top right-hand corner, which will bring you to the official forums. We can come talk about Franchise Hockey Manager, Out of the Park Baseball, Perfect Team Go, or anything else you wish to discuss. Jeff, I feel like we haven't talked about something else.
No, we can't talk about that thing that might possibly be happening tomorrow, but...
That thing that's already been announced by somebody else?
Who announced it?
I mean,
everybody knows when the Steam sales happen now, but... Yeah.
Well, there's a video for it saying that there's a Steam sale. Huh.
Okay. Well, I mean, everybody knows the dates. You could look this up online months ago, but yeah, obviously Steam sale starting tomorrow, so if you're listening to us right now and want to buy the game, don't wait until tomorrow morning. It'll be cheaper. How much cheaper? You'll have to still wait and see.
Or, I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, it might already be on sale, or you might be getting close to being too late, depending on when you're watching it. So you better get to social media to get those links. Or actually, they should be in the video information right below. So do that. Do that now!
Or if you're watching us sometime in the distant future, you've missed the sale, and possibly we've gone down to several new versions of the game since then, so disregard this. I just found something interesting. Billy Coutu, who we gave up on 8 years ago because he seemed to be declining. I think what was that trade? Oh yeah, we got a first round pick, because I think that was a pick we used to pick Joliet. I'm not sure. But dealt him away to Ottawa, where he struggled for a few years, bounced to Hamilton and then Toronto, and wound up in Detroit last year and had basically an all-star season at the age of 35. Surprising, but...
as you would expect.
Yeah, the playoff. How did he wind up there? Oh, they traded him from the Leafs and got Ed Gorman in return. Did Ed Gorman do anything last season? Well, 2 games for the Leafs. So that deal didn't work out. Or 2 games for the St. Patrick's. They're the Leafs now. So somehow Detroit figured out how to get some mileage out of the old guy. Well, we'll see if we can repeat that this year. But just looking through the other teams in the league, we do need to make that goalie deal before the start of the season, I think. I'll have to figure something out. And I'd probably go after Joe Primo first, but I don't think we're going to get him. And defending champion Americans. Aging goaltender aside, still a pretty gay team. Up and coming Rangers. Ottawa continuing to get older. And Pirates, surprising last season, but it doesn't look like they've got it in them to do any better. So we will see if we can get our cup back. We did make it to 5 cups in a row, so there's still that goal out there for us. But I will leave it off there, and we will be back next week with Adam's Penguins game, trying to recover from yet another early playoff exit. Are we at the start of the season now? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
We had a successful free agency and draft, and now we're ready to see how well we can do.
Yeah, last season was the off-season overhaul, so we'll see how the new team does this year. We've shuffled the roster around quite a bit from what we were 4 years in now, I think.
Sounds about right.
We haven't really had a bad season yet, but really need a little more
Not a good
playoff
season.
success. But Adam's not fired. That's the important thing.
That was most impressive.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for coming out, everybody, and we will see you back here a week from now.